Welcome, bow betters. Welcome to MMA Sip and Smoke, where we normally discuss mixed martial arts and cigars, as well as martial arts gambling. I'm your host, Roberto. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you make it on in. Welcome, bow betters. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As the title suggests, we are just going to grift. I'm a grift or rip, I should say. All right, the sound is working fine. We're going to discuss these social media MMA grifters, and they are people that you should expect that some people don't consider as grifters, but they are. They make a career by lying, by providing misinformation to people, and they do actually very little of discussion of MMA. They actually aren't. They're involved in MMA, and even participants in MMA, but when they're on social media, most of all the discussion is about politics, cultural values, other forms of social media, and has very little to do with mixed martial arts. So, yeah, we're going to discuss these things. We're going to discuss these guys. I don't have much in preparation, I should say, that I prepared ahead of time for this. So maybe if people could come on in and participate what they want to discuss about these guys. And I don't know if we should start from like the lowest fruit to the highest fruit, or from the high to the low. I think we should start with the easiest and the lowest, and that would probably be Jesse on Fire. I don't know if you guys know Jesse on Fire, but he is probably the biggest social media MMA wannabe, with a large audience of just poor sycophants. I think Joe Rogan, of course, is at the pinnacle and the highest of it. Brandon Schaub, of course, following on his coattails, making himself a MMA personality, which I actually don't hate. I think that out of all these people, Brendan Schaub might not be the biggest grifter. He's just the biggest wannabe. Because I think that even though he doesn't have the talent that he thinks he possesses, both in the comedy as well as in the commentating, the fight commentating, he does the lowest part of the grift out of all these people. Even though seems to be the pseudo person, or the most, he isn't the most phony, in my opinion, which is crazy to say, because out of all these people, other than Bryce Mitchell, he might be I don't know if Brendan Schaub has more talent than Jesse on Fire. I give Jesse on Fire his credit in that he's been grinding on the social media, but he's been grifting at the same time for a long time, right? Like, all these guys have a blend, and out of all these people, of late, I think Terry Kennedy's sort of, I know where he's getting, where his grift comes, and I'm not in that. Whoa, let's see here. Wait, let me get my, that isn't coming out right. There we go. Social media. There we go. Now it fits in there. Terry Kennedy in this might be somewhat undeserving. I think where his grift lies is just in misinformation, not misinformation, but people's misrepresentation of him due to his own fault, right? That he hasn't corrected certain things in his military record. Why somebody of his caliber has to lie about his military service, which is insane. And he doesn't have to lie about his MMA performance. And looking at his channel of late, I like what he's doing. I actually like what Terry Kennedy is doing. I'm just throwing him in here just for the sake that part of his military service in his book and the sales of his book has, from what I've gathered just on social media, I haven't read his book and I haven't done sort of any investigation of it, but watching a lot of these military influencers, and I would hesitate to follow any of these military or listen to any of these military influencers, as well as the ex-con influencers. I have no idea why people continue. I get it why you'd watch Joe Rogan. I get it. Joe Rogan, it can be entertaining, especially when he has other comedians that are much more talented than him. And I think that's where part of his grift comes from, is his friends and the people that he surrounds himself with, which is smart, are actually funnier and more talented than him. I can't harp on him for that. Where I do harp on him is where he is a hypocrite on his politics and his take on cultural society. Like he just mixes and he's wishy-washy and he straight up lies. He straight up provides a lot of misinformation on things that, science that's well established, simple things like geography, physics. I mean, my favorite episodes are long gone of him. When he has Tyson DeGrassi on with MMA, when he had John Danaher or Zahabi, right? Faraz Zahabi, discussing MMA. Even when he had this guy, Thug Rose, right? Thug Rose and her husband on there. That was actually a very interesting episode. I haven't seen too many interesting episodes from Joe Rogan since then, and I don't really follow him that much because I feel that he's a grifter. I think that he's a purveyor of bad information, and people accept it because he's a well-established channel that has a platform where, similar to like Bryce Mitchell, where they're able to say anything they want unchecked. And some of the stuff that they say is not only just harmful, not only just a lie, but has real world consequences, which isn't the case with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had a huge part of Donald Trump being elected. And, a lot of people are fucking around and finding out now. I have to add that to the hashtag here. Donald Trump is quickly dismantling, now with the National Institute of Health, destroy science, destroy things that help people, destroy, Social Security, destroy Medicaid, destroy the EBT program. He's coming for it all. And they're coming for veterans next too. And all of these charlatans have supported, Donald Trump in that effort. So now they have to accept responsibility in that. They have to take accountability that they in part participated. And even Jesse on Fire, if you look at his channel, it has a lot of these political, you could tell where he stands. Jesse on Fire is for me is representative of more so of that Trump bro mentality, of that sort of uneducated, misaligned, misinformed person who is here just for the grift, right? He is just building his channel to get money out of all those people, out of all the people that we've discussed. He is the biggest MMA grifter for sure. He's the person that grifts the most because he has to. And he's grinding. That I admire of him. And it's good to take on some of these controversial issues because it created an audience for him. He didn't get where he is at, and that's Jesse on Fire, by actually discussing mixed martial arts and mixed martial arts media, or at least the positive of the media. He's a drama queen. It goes for the conflict, and most people here on YouTube, that is the case. Conflict sells. That's even myself. I'm sort of punching up. I'm creating a little conflict here, coming out and discussing this where nobody's really discussing this because nobody wants that smoke and nobody needs it. I'm a channel with only 300 subscribers. I'm a nobody. You could say, hey, I'm this loser dude in his basement, doesn't know anybody, doesn't have any money. He's a piece of shit. Why should we listen to this guy? Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion. This is America. And whether you agree with me or not, you could always just shut the channel off. You don't have to comment, like, and subscribe. Even if you don't like, you could comment on it. I might respond to it. I probably won't because I already can hear the comments as we speak. Everybody, like, you attack Elon Musk, you attack Joe Rogan, you attack any of these, right? Tucker Carlson, you're going to get smoke. You're going to get retaliation by these morons who actually just speak or espouse the same talking points that Joe Rogan would or that Jesse on Fire would. These people have been captivated by just talking heads and really, think like, oh, you're poisoned because you listen to CNN. Like you don't listen just to Fox and to that other broadcast thing, right? Like most of the people, including Joe Rogan, that's his biggest fault, is he needs his buddy, his producer, to fact check him. He will espouse things. Big fault on him. Big fault on Joe Rogan is he'll espouse lies and get fact checked by his own producer. Even though he has all the resources in the world, and I've discussed this before, you could just do ChatGPT before you mention something about vaccines or before you talk about the National Institute of Health or these organizations. Any of these things that he allows people to come on his show and lie about, he could actually fact check ahead of time. And he doesn't do it. Right? A lot of this discussion, I'm going to leave Terry Kennedy out of this. There's not more. That's for his community to check him on. But that being said, I wouldn't trust the information that you get from this operator YouTube sphere. Most of these guys don't have a proper take on society, our social values, politics, and really what's better for communities, right? Like, in fact, we talk about fuck around and find out. Same with the ex-con community, the veteran community, or these operators community, and these ex-cons, they are socially damaged. They're damaged goods as people. Sorry to say that, they are. That's why, unfortunately, they're going to fuck around and find out with this guy Hegseth when he starts cutting VA programs, when there's going to be no mental health, right? When they're going to construe these veterans as not because they didn't have a Purple Heart and they weren't penetrated or shot and didn't lose a limb, that their mental health issues, their CTE is a vapor, is a lie, right? They're gonna start taking those people off, those veterans, those services, their mental health services, their drug addiction services are all going to be cut. They're gonna lose those. Veterans are in the same group as everyone is because they fell for the smoke and mirrors. They fell for the grift, and they're going to fuck around and find out. Veterans are also going to lose their benefits. Right now, they've been losing benefits, and some of their benefits haven't been executed or given in the right context. God forbid. Or God willing. My brothers who both served, one of them actually served in the military. One of them actually was in combat, got in a combat ribbon, but he was on a boat. So, and my cousin, for example, same thing. My cousin actually took X-rays and was an X-ray technician during the Gulf War and got his combat service because he cared for a lot of the people that were eventually going to be amputated. He was doing X-rays on all the soldiers that were wounded during the Iraqi War. So he's probably seen more wounded than even a lot of the frontline veterans, because he almost got sick of it. There were so many that were sick of it, but he wanted to quit because there was just so many every day, seeing 50 soldiers every day, 100, to the point of exhaustion, of where he couldn't do his job anymore. Like, it was just mentally and physically stressful to do the job of caring for these veterans that had lost their limbs and that were wounded in combat. So again, even those guys gotta lose, so Terry Kennedy, I'm gonna leave out because I see what Terry Kennedy is doing now. I just went to his channel and I like what he's doing. I think he's diversifying himself. He's not involved in the politics as much. If you look at his channel, he's trying to do reviews of merchandise, lifestyle stuff, and I think that's the better way to go. Even for Joe Rogan, I wish he did more of that, right? I wish he invited like Seth Rogen to talk about his pottery a little bit more. Invited Jim Belushi, for example, to talk about his weed growing business, right? For example, I don't know if he has already in terms of Jim Belushi or Seth Rogen, right? Talk to some of these other people. Invite some counter people, like invite Brad Pitt to come on and talk about his efforts in Cambodia or to help children, right? Invite Angelina Jolie to talk about refugees in Africa, right? There is no counter. He doesn't invite the right or very significant counterpoint people because they don't fit his narrative. They do not fit his audience as well. Like, he's going to offend his audience by bringing people that will not just contradict him, but oppose him and provide better points than him in terms of everything that Joe Rogan believes. He doesn't like to be tested, even in the MMA sphere. But people like Jesse on Fire doesn't like to be tested, for example. Again, biggest easy fruit to grab here. Right, Jesse on Fire is easy fruit because he has an MMA audience, but it's just one type of person, right? And he makes money off of the drama, right? He's gained his audience from the drama, and does that make him a grifter? To an extent, yes, because he puts himself off and got to eventually even on Joe Rogan. But what legitimacy did he have going on Joe Rogan? Right? Like what, from a gambling standpoint, from an MMA knowledge standpoint, right? From even a social media standpoint. Actually, social media, he probably would have something to contribute. But of course, Joe Rogan would know that area a lot better, right? I mean, how did he get there? He lied, cheated, and stole, right? Put shit on people's names, kept on going after people. You could go to his channel, right? His channel has very little to do with mixed martial arts. It has everything to do with the controversies of mixed martial arts. And we saw recently Bryce Mitchell trying to follow suit, right? Bryce Mitchell has been trying to cater to this right-wing, flat earth, election denying, vaccine denying, the government doing good thing denying group, and he's trying to cater to them so he can gain followers. I mean, he's somebody that does need followers. Jesse's got money. Jesse's got money probably from VC money when he failed at his online gambling business, right? As well as what other investments he might have made at that period. He's got money, right? He I guess he's working. I don't know what he's working at and doing sales or something. I assume it's a sales job for someone. But these fighters need to find other avenues to be successful. Thus Brendan Schaub. I can't, even though I consider Schaub a grifter, I think his grift is not self-deception. He knows that he has to push himself as a legitimate media person, as a legitimate comedian. I think he quit the comedy, and he quit. I think he just couldn't handle the heat, and also his shows. They probably weren't selling. People were going just because to see if Rogan would show up or somebody else is there, and when they're not showing up and they see the comedy, they don't laugh. The same could be said about Rogan. I'm certain that Rogan could show up at the Comedy Store and they might not give him a spot. They're like, you're taking, it's Pauly Shore or somebody at the door else that's controlling it. Be like, Pauly Shore is like, Joe, you're already famous. We got so and so who's coming up. The kid is, or the woman is fantastic. She's fucking hella funny. I'm not going to cut her so you could come on, right? So you could riff and practice your new material that isn't working on your specials, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sacrifice this person's career that's up and coming for you when you're already established to practice material that doesn't really hit anyways. So that could be some, thought of as part of a grift on his part, where he's now using his power. He was complaining about long ago, and that's how Rogan, people don't realize Rogan made his fame off of Carlos Mencia, which you could consider a grift. Before that online, that YouTube thing, Joe Rogan was a nobody. Nobody knew who Joe Rogan was. Carlos Mencia was one of the biggest, if not the biggest comedian at that time in the early 90s. He was the biggest player in the game. And Joe Rogan made his name off of confronting him on stage. And it wasn't a grift per se, but he made his fame by punching up. By attacking Carlos Mencia, Joe Rogan gained legitimacy. It wasn't from the UFC. It wasn't from his own comedy, because nobody knew his comedy stuff. And I don't know where his comedy stuff sits on Netflix now, but I can't sit through it. I don't think he's funny at all. I don't think his buddy Tony Hinchcliffe is that funny. Sometimes he's got some burns, right? That roast comedy. I don't think he's actually that funny. Same with Bert Kreischer. I don't think Bert Kreischer is that funny. I like some of the other people they have there. I mean, the Irish guy is fucking funny. This guy is fucking the redhead who was in Star Wars. He's funny. He's funny. A lot of the other people that he's had on there, Burris, a lot of the African American comedians, they're funny. They're funny people. But most of the people that are in that Rogan, that small sphere, Artie Shafer, even though maybe he's a great writer, right? But watching their stand up, I'm not that impressed. I could vote and with my dollars as well as my time. I don't watch that stuff, right? I don't really watch the Jesse on Fire stuff. The last time I think I saw something on Jesse Fire is like where he was defending people that committed crimes against kids, or I should say, he seemed to project like it was okay for people of a certain age to be sexualized, right? And that was like, and of course, this is a criticism, but they were showing areas where he was discussing and defending those people, or at least seemed to stance like he didn't have problems if somebody was a certain maturity of engaging in adult activities, which was pretty damn scary, right? Then again, also like using your wife to help your channel, which isn't, if they contribute something, if they have something where they have a good opinion, or they could offshoot and develop their own channel on their own and their material could stand on themselves, great. Otherwise, using them as like a trophy wife or as an object so that it could grant you legitimacy on what you're discussing in terms of relationships, MMA, as well as other stuff, in terms of your success, I think is a little shoddy. And of course, I have nobody. See, I have nobody. So I'm talking to the vapor. I'm talking to myself. No one's going to be here listening to me. It's funny if I get a response from any of the guys that we're discussing right now. And like I mentioned, I'm going to leave Terry Kennedy out of this right now because he's going to be policed and has been policed by his own community, which is that veteran community. And whether he accepts it or not, and it seems like he hasn't or has just been rolling with the punches, I would do what he's doing. My book is my book. Promote my book. I'm promoting other things. I'm moving on. I'm not concerned about what the controversy is with my, yeah. I mean, I almost like what he's doing, and he's a grifter within his community, but a lot of people don't care about that. Most of the public doesn't care that he didn't win a Bronze Star or whatever it is, or a Silver Star, or that he doesn't have a Purple Heart. Most people, and he's never really truly claimed that he has those things, right? He's allowed other people to admonish him or put those accolades on him, and he just hasn't rejected it, right? He hasn't like told him, hey, I'm not that, right? I mean, is that his fault? Yes, to an extent, but is it, morally, make him morally corrupt or culpable as a grifter? Not really. Yes and no, but to most extent, the guy has a distinguished military career, and his MMA career speaks for itself as well. I mean, legitimate, Strike Force champion contender, lost to Luke Rockhold. Good fight. Should have won that fight against Yoel Romero, which would have definitely extended his career and allowed him maybe to fight for a championship. So, and that fight between him and Yoel Romero is a classic. It's like, should be in the UFC Hall of Fame for the controversy of it, as well as it being a good fight. But for the controversy of it, it's still spoken of highly today. So, still a good fight. I mean, so we're gonna leave him out of it. Bryce Mitchell, Bryce Mitchell is on that Jesse on Fire build. Hasn't really grinded social media wise. He should have kept on doing what he was doing on his farm with his girlfriend. He was another one that was using his pretty girlfriend in his social media quite a bit. He should have kept on like another day in the farm with Bryce Mitchell, right? Another day, talking, with his dogs. Like he should have just kept on that groove, right? And then he could have went and used his experience, his podcast, to go to other farmers and visit with their animals and their dogs, right? I think he did a little of the MMA stuff where he went to train at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, where he went to 10th Planet and went to other people, and he was going out of house and he was filming that stuff, which I think is great. That stuff is positive. But constantly when he's winning and when he's got a microphone, when he's got a lot of people in front of him, when he's grifting on the anti-vax and on this Hitler, or I shouldn't say it, but let's just say it. I mean, because he said it. Hitler was a good guy, right? Like that's what he said. Hopefully they don't take me out of context, but that's what Bryce Mitchell said, and he deserves all the smoke that he's trying to retract it now, but it's like, dude, we all saw it. Now, that's another thing about all these people All these people like that try to, we've seen it. We heard it with our own eyes in the real world, right? And they try to deny it. Just like the January 6th thing, just like everything that they're doing. Everyone's, no, we didn't do that. That isn't happening. And it's like, wait, we just saw that. We see the house burning. You can't tell me that it isn't burning. I see it right now. I'm right in front of it. Right? And nope. That didn't happen. They were invited there. They were invited to burn the house. Well, yeah, it was just a s'mores fest. They're making s'mores. They wanted to make s'mores and they invited it. So, oh, I could tell like that I'm not necessarily shadow banned, but look, I have nobody in the chat, not even my own people. YouTube isn't going to like this, right? They do not like, because essentially like Instagram, all these social, Facebook and YouTube are complacent in the grift. They allow the grifters to grift. That is the platform where grifters got to grift, and guess who's got to help them, right? And there's a ton of them. David Bat, whatever. Fucking one Asian dude who does the property thing. I'm watching. There's this one Indian dude who does the Trump thing. There are so many out there, and I love when there's that one guy. He's out of Vegas, and he exposes all these real estate guys, these phony, moguls. You guys might know who I'm talking about. I forget his name, but he exposes them, right, as phonies. And on here, unfortunately, on YouTube is the medium, is the platform, is the best platform now for grifting people, right? It used to be, I don't know what it was before, if it was fax, sending people faxes, or if it was like developing a pyramid scheme, with a lot of these things are pyramid schemes. This is the platform now to grift. You can get people to provide you with money. You can create an organization and continue to promulgate misinformation and grift from people. They could send you money through your Cash App, and or once you have enough subscribers, they could send money directly to you, just like Jesse on Fire. And you make this money completely providing misinformation and lying online, right? Lying. People could think of it defaming, or oh, come and sue me, please. That's what's great about being broke, being a low level like I am. Another reason why YouTube wouldn't promote me is there's nothing to lose. I have nothing, like, you're going to come and sue me. Psh, good luck. It's like worse than getting blood out of a turnip, water out of concrete. Just isn't going to happen. There's nothing to get. Get in line. Get in line. Yeah, so before it was, there were these. It's just now before. I shouldn't say before, but all of these people, all of them, even Bryce Mitchell, Jesse on Fire, and Rogan had a positive start, right? They didn't start off as grifters. I think they actually had great values as content creators, and stayed true to their talents, their abilities. They stayed true to that, and I think that's when they were more widely. That's why we'll let them grow. They actually were funny. They actually had good people. They actually had good information, right? And then eventually, you get a big following, and I don't know what happens. This is more like when you get the following and the money, and then you degrade yourself. Then you actually like take away your integrity. The integrity is gone for the growth. Like you already grew. You already were making money, being honest, being sincere, being genuine to your craft. And then you see, okay, there's more money to be made if I start to grift. And then they start to grift. All of them start to grift. They all start to grift, right? People like trying to harp on Ariel Helwani, genuine MMA media guy, went to school for MMA media, helped start MMA media, right? And now everybody is against him, like thinking of him as a phony. It's like, are you kidding me? Ariel Helwani was doing, literally in his mother's basement, was doing MMA commentary and journalism before you were alive, right? Before you were in MMA, you were still in grammar school playing with Legos when he was actually developing the industry of MMA social media. And people attack him as illegitimate, right? Because Now we want to look at that girl that Dana brought on, right? He had two women take his job. And in fact, the other woman took over the other woman's job, right? That took Ariel Helwani's job. And then we had that one dude that was a farce too that took Ariel Helwani's job. They wanted a more clean cut, and that's Dana's grift, right? Dana is, I mean, to call him MMA grifter, I can't. It's like he's doing his job as a promoter, and his job is to not lie, cheat, and steal, but get you to buy the pay-per-view in any way possible, right? I don't like how he handicapped and he personally destroyed Ariel Helwani's career to an extent. Like, got him off of ESPN because he didn't want him commentating and working through ESPN. Got him, revoked his pass to go to the live UFC events. He rarely has UFC fighters go on his show now. It's a shame, right? And look at Jesse on Fire. Doesn't have any, is there because of people like Ariel Helwani, but doesn't have any MMA fighters, doesn't do any of that stuff. He's making money now off of controversies. We look at their channels and you look up and down, and has, again, like very little to do with MMA and everything to do with the social media dialogue of, I just want to say, of misinformation about what our country, about politics, about culture, about people. This guy's got it all wrong, right? And then Joe Rogan's feeding into it. I mean, who was the last interesting person that Joe Rogan might have had on? I don't recall the last time I saw a Joe Rogan podcast. It's been years. I used to be into it when he had, years ago, 5-6 years ago, when he actually had like very interesting people, people that were scientists, people that were archaeologists, geologists, people that were into space, engineers, and a lot of people were probably bored about that shit. And then he just wanted to have people like Donald Trump on, and people that, that guy from Canada, the professor, and people like Bryce Mitchell. Was Bryce Mitchell on there? I don't think so, or maybe he was. And who knows? I wouldn't have watched the episode. Right? Again, I don't watch any of these guys. I do not watch, or I've seen them a couple times, like here and there, but I don't. It's not just support. I just don't find them entertaining. I don't find any of them very entertaining. And I'd rather watch that dude MMA Joey talk shit on people and harp on people. Sometimes I don't even watch Ariel Helwani as much any longer. I might, but he's not really pushing the envelope, being himself necessarily. And it's tough because, you're getting better questions about MMA fighters and discussions now through that, like, Jackson podcast that catered to, I don't know who they catered to, the podcast with Rampage Jackson. I give all props to Rampage Jackson, very entertaining guy. Like, he was, just confronted Bryce Mitchell directly and was like, dude, what's wrong with you, bro? Right? And then his partner was the guy that was an idiot that pushed back a little too much, right? He should have stepped back and let Bryce Mitchell and him have a discussion about the whole Hitler thing and about the controversy. They should have let him discuss it. Why they took it down, I have no clue. I don't think it's fair to Bryce Mitchell. I don't think it's fair to Rampage Jackson, or even the Jackson podcast, like their company that's supporting them. They got him on there for a reason. Let the guy talk. Let him spout his opinions. Confront him about it, and go from there. Why they took it down, I have no clue. I think it's a bad precedent, right? That they should take their content down. But that's what people like I do when will be drunk or doing something stupid. When you're an established company and you're not being slanderous or doing any slander, why take it down? Maybe Jackson felt that even in what little that Bryce Mitchell said was still controversial and would look bad on them. Then why have him on in the first place? Why give him the audience to have a platform? Makes no sense. And Bryce grifting because Bryce Mitchell wants, he didn't have Trump Daddy calling him up to be, like, and you can't harp on people like Kobe Covington. It's an act, but it's not an act. But he's a fighter, He's playing the game, and we know he's playing a game, right? He's grifting, but he's grifting, and he's hustling, right? He's a hustler. He's not claiming to be anything that he shows you, right? He's hustling, so people like him, I could tolerate and accept. It's like Jorge Masvidal, no, like not. He's grifting, right? When people see, when Jorge realizes that his, some of his Cuban friends over there that just have been here a year or two that don't have their papers, because it takes sometimes 20 plus years to get your papers. They're trying to do it legitimately, and these Cuban immigrants haven't got their papers, and they get deported. And it's Jorge Masvidal's dad, for example, might not have his papers, and his dad gets deported. Fuck around and find out, Jorge. You wanted to be, wear that Trump hat. Go on ahead, buddy, all the way back to Cuba. Trump is not your friend, right? Trump is not your friend. So, it's not a grift. That's just stupidity, right? What was it, so it's okay for him to do all these things, and you supported him, and you voted for him, and you supported him, and then when he actually comes and hurts you or your family, you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. Oh my God, I have no sympathy for you, right? So, and there are these people. Anybody contributing to the chat here, please comment, like, subscribe. You want to have I thought I was live. I'm not live. I should. Yeah, I'm live. It doesn't show live on the camera here. It shows me live here. Yeah, so like what Rogan's doing now, I view as shameful. I feel it is credibility has shot. I think that he's manipulating his audience now, and as well, which is huge, as well as contributing to the detriment of our beliefs, our values, and what we could learn from the internet. Like, he used to be a person that fostered education, that fostered like looking at a different standpoint, having a different opinion, to now just being a bootlicker, for being somebody that is status quo, which is dangerous, right? Because being, fake news, like what he is, he's no longer an entertainer. He's a purveyor of fake information. Has a direct negative consequence on our lives, right? And Joe Rogan doesn't have to worry about it. He's super rich. He lives out in Texas, super rich, doesn't have to worry about it. It faces no consequences of any form for anything. The guy that does his landscaping, gets deported. He's like, that's okay. I'll call another landscaper, right? Not a big deal. The person that cleans his house gets deported. No big deal. I'll find another one, right? No big deal, right? But where he will face maybe the consequences is not really. They don't face any consequences. Look at Bryce Mitchell, no consequences. Do you think if any athlete, think of Michael Jordan or LeBron James saying what he said, like what the Yeezy does, he'd be out of the NBA, right? Think of Patrick Mahomes saying something like that. They'd be fined, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that there are no consequences for any of these people, right? Free speech. That's what Dana White said. Free speech. He thought it was stupid. He said, like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with that kid. It's stupid, but it's free speech. No consequences, and we'll see what happens with Bryce Mitchell, right? I don't think even after MMA, because of this, it might be okay with him. I just don't think that he has. Maybe he does. Maybe he gets with the right person. Thinks about. He's got too many yes men around him. I think he has the talent to do the social media thing really well, because he's young and he has I farted. You can fart online. He has the talent to, I think he's got the talent, the personality. He's got, if he could just get the retardedness out of him, which is hard to do. And I don't think the guy is retarded. I don't think he's stupid. It's just like he's just been misinformed. Like he's drank the Kool-Aid and it's gotten all through the body. He's just got to detox from the fucking stupidity. Unplug, disconnect, disengage, hit the reset button, and then start fresh. We all can do it. It's pretty simple, right? The easiest start is to stop listening to these people. Stop watching CNN. Stop watching Fox. Stop watching the fucking this guy, fucking Carlson, right? Stop watching Joe Rogan. Stop watching fucking who's popular on the liberal side. David Pakman, for example. Stop watching these political pundits. Let them have their area, and we sort of need to be aware of what is happening to our society and our government right now, because it does have direct effects on most of us. Like even myself, I'm always now carrying multiple mags on me, like multiple. I'm like, my everyday carry is all basically like a battle belt. It's a battle belt. There ain't no tools. There ain't no tourniquet. There's no friggin' multi-tool. None of that. None of that. It's like it's like it's like that, right? Someone's gonna fuck around and find out, right? This is just absurd because, even recently, there's been a measure where the stand your ground law could become nationalized. So it won't just be in Texas and Florida; it's going to be nationwide. And let's look at we could do the Chat GPT discovery, which fucking like I was mentioning. Rogan doesn't do. He could be live, right? And just check that. Okay, you could look at what is the homicide rate in states with a stand your ground law or something like that, right? Here it is. Research indicates that the stand your ground laws experience higher homicide rates compared to those without such laws. A study published by JAMA Network Open found that these laws are associated with an 8 to 11% national increase in monthly homicide and firearm homicide rates, resulting in approximately 700 additional homicides annually. The impact varies by state. For instance, Florida experienced 28% monthly rise in homicides following the enactment of the Stand Your Ground law. 28%. That's no fucking joke. Another study by Texas A&M University Research analyzed FBI data and, oh no, don't listen to FBI data. Oh, can't trust that shit. Researchers analyzed FBI data and found no evidence that stand your ground laws deter crimes such as burglary, robbery, and aggressive assault. However, they did observe an 8% increase in homicide rates, equating to about 600 deaths per year in states that implemented these laws. It's important to note that while these studies show a correlation between stand your ground laws and increased homicide rates. Again, it's important to note that while these studies show a correlation between stand your ground laws and increased homicide rates, they do not necessarily establish causation. Other factors may contribute to these trends, and ongoing research continues to explore the complex relationship between self-defense laws and public safety. That's what we're talking about, people. Right? There's real life consequences to what's going on here, and we're going to have more and more stand your ground laws every place, so that it's going to be like the Wild West. That person attacked me, so I shot him. Like you right? 30, look at that. 28%, Florida experienced a 28% monthly rise in homicides following the enactment of its stand your ground laws. That is insane. 28%. That is, like in here, let me do something like this. We're always talking about Chicago. We're not going to do Chicago. We're just going to do by state. What is the comparative homicide rate between Florida and Illinois? Let's see. I'm always talking about my Chicago and Illinois here. Oh, we're higher, but not by much. According to data by the CDC. Oh, can't take the CDC data. Let's defund the CDC. That's not legit data, huh? These people, man. People like delegitimizing like Fauci. Fauci fucking is a biochemical genius. Can't legitimate him. Can't listen to that guy. They can't listen to the CDC. They've only been working on, preventative and research for diseases and all this shit for fucking 50 years. No, they're not genuine. Can't trust them. But according to the data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, in 2021, Florida had a homicide rate of 11.4 per 100,000 people, while Illinois had a higher rate of 12.3 per 100,000. So it's just like 1%, 1 percentage more, right? 1 percentage more than Florida, right? Which, given that they have that stand your ground law, makes Illinois look a little worse. But I think that most of that is in Chicago, right? And in a certain part of Chicago, if you break down like the shootings here in Chicago, the overwhelming amount of shootings are in one area. An overwhelming amount, like one area. In the Inglewood, in the southwest side and south side of Chicago, and in two particular, like a zone, small zone, most of the shootings happen, right? So, again, can Rogan do that? He's got Jeremy, you look at it, they do not fact check themselves. Rogan loves the license of being like, I could say whatever I want. I read that, if I put something in my asshole, I might enjoy it. I read that, blah, 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 never fact checks himself, doesn't accept the authenticity or the legitimacy of any of these organizations because the earth is flat, right? The earth is flat. There is no Jesus. We never walked on the moon. We don't have a rover on Mars, right? The earth is flat, right? It's all smoke and mirrors. Man, nobody's in the chat. But then again, nobody sent I know that the algorithm is not sending people here to me. Even though I begged you, YouTube, I was a good person. I've been a good, loyal content creator here for a while. But I know it. I know what it is. Can't. I'm the little guy, and I don't stick to my lane. I'm just almost like Jesse on Fire, talking about other things, not just MMA and cigars, but we're about better. About better is like inclusive of other stuff, product reviews, opinions, political opinions, cultural opinions. Why not? Why the hell not? Everybody else does it. I'm not grifting. There's no grift here. I'm not asking people for money. And even if I were over the 1,000 people, and people, I got a couple new subscribers. Wow, I got 2 new subscribers. I appreciate that. That's two new subscribers today. I'm very, very excited. Just trying to get over over the 1,000 mark. Any more I could get would be awesome. But yeah, these guys are able to grift because they don't check themselves and nobody checks them. Rogan is never checked. Nobody contradicts or confronts Rogan on any of his opinions ever. They just let him, and he doesn't check any of the people that come on there. If Bryce Mitchell were on there talking what he did, same thing that he was doing on his own podcast, Rogan probably would have found something to support him. Said, you know what, you're sort of right. Yeah, he was taking ether and that really got him a little crazy, et cetera, but he was actually an artist and blah, blah, blah. Loved the dogs. love to hunt. Like it's just yes men. Like say Jesse on Fire, a yes man. But Brandon Schaub, biggest yes man there is out of all of them. He's a coattail. He's riding on the coattails, which I don't blame him. Ride Rogan as much as you can. Hug those nuts as much as you need to make money for you and your family. Go on ahead, Brandon. And it's worked, right? You've tried everything. You've actually diversified your show, which is cool. And I've heard there's been some stuff against that like you didn't pay certain people to do certain things. But I got to hand it to Brandon Schaub is that he's not pretending that he isn't something that he isn't. Just like Kobe Covington. Like, they know they're hustling. They're not trying to be more legitimate than somebody else. They're about creating little controversy and using social media to their advantage, right? And growing. Where I think Joe Rogan, especially, and Jesse on Fire, provide a lot of misinformation. Terry Kennedy, again, another person that's using social media to grow his channel, to make money, and as an outlet for himself. I think that's great. I like what Terry Kennedy is doing a lot better than these other operators and these ex-military guys that are like going up against other military people that are providing too much political and cultural bullshit and information, that their channels are focused on the cultural issues and political issues. Or Terry Kennedy is like, hey, how to make fucking, dehydrated food for yourself, how to repair your truck, how to store this. Like, he's actually like diversified his content where I could respect it, right? Like he's actually providing people with good information, sort of in the spirit that YouTube was created. Fun stuff that's educational, that's helpful, that provides, that contributes to the people that watch that contributes positively to the people that watch his content. So I know I got Tim Kennedy up there, and it's not regretful because, again, I have to mention that some people feel that he's grifting because of lying about his combat record and providing stories about his service in his book, like events that didn't happen the way he put in his book happened. It's a grift to sell a book. I don't know if his book is considered an autobiography or if it's rated as fiction. In fact, let's ask. Let's find out. Let me see. I'll ask ChatGPT. And people are like, you can't always trust ChatGPT. Don't trust AI. Yeah, right. Come on, people. All right. Is Tim Kennedy's book considered fiction? Yeah, that's why Joe Rogan doesn't fact check himself, because he doesn't want to show that everybody that he can't type. I can't type either. It's considered nonfiction. His Scars and Stripes is considered nonfiction. It's considered a memoir that details his experience as a U.S. Army Green Beret, UFC fighter, and entrepreneur. So that's where the grift and the problem comes in, where he's embellished a little bit about his service and war stories. But don't all veterans embellish about their service and war stories? I mean, a lot of them do. He's not saying that he was, that he was a Navy SEAL. He's not like lying. He was a Green Beret, right? He did see combat. He did operate with these other famous operators that are online now. So it's just an embellishment. A lot of people, even in not in MMA, but in skateboarders, man, and surfers. That's my area. Like, people lie. They embellish. Oh, I did that 15 stair. I didn't get a shot of it, but I did that 15 stair. I kick flipped it before anybody else did. Right? Like, a lot of people embellish. It's common. It's common, especially in the internet. It's super common. Super common, especially like people like Wes Watson talk about embellishment, where you create a fake grift. And yes, there's a difference between the full-on grifters like Wes Watson, Big Boy, and some of these physical health influencers, which are all lying. They're all on steroids. How can you be and I wanted to include some of those people. How can you be a physical influencer, like a fitness person that's influences, when you're cheating? You're just taking, same with Joe Rogan. At least Joe Rogan admits that he's on TRT. And he doesn't say steroids. He should just say, yeah, I take steroids. Testosterone replacement treatment is steroids, right? He just can't say it that way. He doesn't want to say it that way because it doesn't fit his narrative. Again, grift. It hurts his legitimacy when he says that he's on steroids because they're all on steroids. They're all on steroids, and they don't want to discuss it, right? They don't want the truth to be out there. Fake news. Push fake news. Push a fake agenda. No, fucking Jesse on Fire, definitely on the steroids. He's got the Napoleon complex and the steroid anger rage. It's pretty obvious. That dude rages all the time. Angry little man. Joe Rogan, not an angry little man, just stoned and just willing to go with the flow almost too much when he doesn't have to. Right? When he doesn't have to, because he does have a lot of influence and power, and he's smart and people like him. Like a lot of people in his community, even if he's not a great community, he has the respect and love of his community. Like other comedians dig Rogan. They love Rogan. He's probably a great person to hang around with. Great. And I've heard that. Like he's very generous, really cool, very supportive, like Cat Williams. Very supportive of other comedians, is a good person, supposedly, in the background, helping people succeed in their craft, right? And is liked by his peers. Joe Rogan has that. Why he has the grift and a grift on us, because we're the ones that lose, not his peers. His peers don't lose anything. Maybe some of them do, right? You know, some of the Latino comedians, right? Might lose out. And people in LA, but he left LA and now he's in Texas, in Austin. Like ICE operations are happening there in Austin. Big time in Texas. Big time with immigrants being attacked in Austin. Right? What if one of his daughters ended up being wanted to go trans or become a lesbian? You know, like Elon Musk, who disowned his daughter that's a transsexual. What is, great. That's your choice, man. That's your choice. You could disown, you could disown for any reason whatsoever. And it's crazy to disown somebody because of what their beliefs or sexual belief is, I should say. If his daughter ended up being a doctor, you're going to disown her? She's contributing to society, helping people. You just because she's gay or trans, you're going to disown her? She didn't do anything else wrong. She just decided to live in a different way that you don't like. It's absurd. What kind of a parent are you? And Elon Musk, what kind of his wife and his nannies, they're probably Europeans and they're probably immigrants. Raise his children. It's obvious that Elon Musk that is not right. When you're living in Mar-a-Lago, you're not raising your own kids. Like, I don't know about Rogan. One thing that's cool about Rogan is that his studio now is in his home, right? It's in his compound in Texas. So I think his daughters are a little older, where I don't know how much interaction he might have with them, but hopefully he is having great interactions with them. In fact, if I were Joe Rogan, and he probably does. He does his podcast for like 4 hours. I would do my podcast for like 3 or 4 hours, and then I would spend time with my kids. Go to their volleyball games. Go to their soccer games. Take them to something extracurricular that if they're not into sports, right? Hang out, play soccer with them, right? Play some volleyball with them, right? That's what I would do if I had that money, right? In fact, if I were Joe Rogan at this point, I wouldn't do 5 days a week. I would go 3 days a week, and 2 days a week I'm spending with my family. But most of these people play lip service to their family. They're entertainers. They're about themselves. Most entertainers are individualists. They're egomaniacs. They are fame driven. They are narcissistic, right? They may not have the best relationships with their families, right? Like we saw that guy. That's why I admire that dude at Demolition Ranch. He's made money, is on YouTube, and he's, what? My kids are still growing up, and I'm missing out on it because I'm making content all the time. I'm watching my daughter grow up, and I'm not part of her life. I'm stopping this YouTube thing, and I want to be part of and I'm going to spend my time with my daughter. And he could come back. He could come back. Years later, once she's in college and she's gone, he could come back to this YouTube thing and make money. And that's what I would do. I don't get all these people, why they do it. Again, once it's the fame, once you have that fame, it's like a drug. Like, it's a drug to all of them. They have to have that attention. Like, look at Donald Trump. I don't know what Donald Trump did today, but that dude is the biggest attention whore there is. Jesse on Fire, attention whore, right? I can't put Terry Kennedy in that. Brennan Schaub, for sure, I could put in that. For sure. Joe Rogan, not necessarily. Like, that isn't, Joe Rogan's grift is more of a purveyor of misinformation and viewing himself as legitimate in that the misinformation, legitimating the misinformation, and not only providing a platform, but legitimating it, right? And that's like, beyond his grift, that's his what he's doing is destructive, right? So, it is what it is. Right? I still don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of. I could continue to go. Right? Am I repeating myself? I think I am repeating myself to this point. Right? So other than, and Jesse on Fire again is another person providing that misinformation. He's just really mirroring a lot of worse. He's exaggerating a lot of the misinformation that Joe Rogan provides, right? That's what Jesse on Fire does. Brendan Schaub is just trying to keep that fame and get on that fame trail. I think he's fallen off quite a bit. His comedy is not that good. I think a lot of people have seen or haven't seen enough of a benefit from his show or his podcast any longer that it might have fallen off. I haven't looked at the analytics, right? I haven't looked at the analytics to see that if that's the case, but I can't fault him. I think his grift, like Brendan Schaub's grift, is he's not as good as what he's gotten. I mean, he's ridden the coattails of Joe Rogan, and that has enabled him to have a great career, which is great of Joe Rogan. I think like Joe Rogan doing that for Brendan is admirable. That's a big thing and he could do it not just for Schaub. He should be doing it for other comedians, right? He should be doing it for other comedians. There's, almost quit my OBS. He should be helping even other comedians, and he has to an extent. I think he's helped the guy who used to be on MTV, get a lot better. Right? Who I'd like to see on Joe Rogan is Cat Williams. Will he bring Cat Williams on? Nope. He ain't gonna bring Cat Williams on. Right? Cat Williams may not go, but he should put on Cat Williams. Theo Von did, right? Theo Von, yeah, it was Theo Von. That was I saw that interview. That was actually a good exchange between Theo Von and Cat Williams. And Theo Von is another person that owes his career to a small extent to Joe Rogan. But he has more talent. He's funnier. Good singer, good history, younger, interesting story, very honest, and funnier. So Theo Von, like, props to him. Not a grifter, just a very genuine guy. And he wasn't afraid to have Cat Williams on his show, right? But he had him, and now Joe Rogan missed on that opportunity, and Joe Rogan was just afraid of the controversy. He was afraid of bringing Camilla Harris on there, right? And so, again, the high point and the low point of these grifters and what the grift really is. We're not always just grifting for money, or people aren't always grifting for money. We're also grifting for a place in the marketplace of ideas, right? That's also a grift. When you are spreading misinformation and gaining power and influence from that. And a lot of these people do. And I think Joe Rogan is one of those people. I think Jesse on Fire, to an extent, is the same way. Again, we're going to throw Terry Kennedy out of this. I like what Terry Kennedy is doing of late. Again, it's his own community that could police him, right? The other veterans and I think they've already could call him out. Hey, Tim Kennedy. Terry Kennedy is a skateboarder. I think he's still in jail. Was Terry Kennedy involved in the sex thing? I don't know what he's in jail for, but I think Terry Kennedy, unfortunately, is in jail. Another great, he wasn't a great skateboarder, but his other Baker teammate, Antoine Dixon, man, wow, what a loss that was, right? Just drugs, alcohol, right? And he didn't come from that life. You know, they didn't come from that life. That's the funny thing. It's like Terry Kennedy, to an extent, did. Like, just an athlete, they just didn't do things properly, weren't around the right people. And again, I got nobody in my chat, nobody here. So it's tough to bounce these ideas around people. And we're having this discussion, and of course, it's in the vacuum of YouTube. It'll just get pushed to the bottom of the algorithm. Nobody will actually watch this stuff. Nobody will actually discuss it, and we'll never get to having a genuine discussion about it. But let me know what you guys think here in the chat, which, I mean, in the comment section. I don't think anybody's ever going to put anything in the comment section, which is crazy. I have like close to 400 videos, and I think I probably have maybe 10 comments. Over the past few years, I have 10 comments, 20 tops. Like, I have no comments, which, again, goes to show my content. I don't have a community. I get it. You don't like me. That's okay. I'm still going to create the content. I'm not going anywhere. As long as I have power, I have a computer. I got OBS, learn how to use OBS. I got other software. I got a phone. I'm not going anywhere. There's, you know, this, I find this interesting. I'm glad I didn't smoke a cigar. I just didn't want to be out in the garage. I wanted to smoke, but not really. I was like, right when I was like, felt outdoors, I'm like, I'm not going to waste another good cigar smoking outside, fucking with my coat on, and fuck, it just is uncomfortable. I'd rather do what I'm doing right now, nice and warm, nice and comfortable. I'd rather do that. So no smoking and no sipping yet. Today is 30 days without anything to drink or smoke. We are on, a very good cleansing period. We're going to try to extend that out. I still have a lot of insomnia. That's not things that you guys need to worry about. But let me know what you guys do think about, what I've mentioned here. Even the smoke. I'm here for the smoke. If you guys are still watching Joe Rogan, what is it that you like? If you still are watching Brendan Schaub, what is it that you like? If you don't like it anymore, why are you watching it? Yo, Joey, I was about to leave. I was about to close off the stream here. I was doing stuff you don't like. I was creating controversy, not talking about MMA, but not talking about MMA. Talking about the grifters in MMA, the liars. People that, like Bryce Mitchell gets to say, Joey, I don't like gay people. Gay people should, what did Hitler do? And he doesn't face any consequences. So, Joey, I was about to drop off. Joey finally made it in here. He was probably working. But yeah, Joey, I am dropping off. I don't think there's anything really more to describe here. If you've made it this far, you are about better. I appreciate everybody that might listen to this. If you made it this far, you are